Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do a little interview with Michael here, and Michael and I have known each other quite some time. As a matter of fact, well, before we get started, I always like to get people get to know a little bit of who you are, how you grew up. Where were you born?
Ohio. Cincinnati, seriously. Oh, that guy's leaving already. You're so cute. Look at her.
There she goes.
Does she know we're filming on live television?
She has no earthly idea. She had to pee so bad she couldn't even go backwards. So you're born in Ohio. Family, big family, small family.
Small family.
Mom?
One sister.
One sister.
One father. One mother.
That's good. From one of those. What'd your dad do?
He worked for a roofing company. He was a manager of a roofing company. And I was a smartass, and he and I didn't get along all that well. He didn't appreciate my sense of humor at a young age.
So there wasn't anybody in your family especially, or was there anyone in your immediate family, adults, that were in any way entertainers or anything?
My dad drew, and that's where I started. I started as an artist. I could draw since grade school, and then I quit high school. My mom was upset. She got me to take my GED, and then I took an SAT, and I got into USF. And I got a bachelor's degree in fine arts from USF after being a high school dropout.
All right. So bodes for the Florida school system.
So you know what I was then?
What?
I was a waiter with a college degree.
Exactly.
Seriously, I waited tables for 15 years. I got a second college degree from the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale. I got a associate's in advertising design, and then I was a waiter with 2 degrees. Really talented one.
And then so you were never able to transition those degrees into a career in art, in graphic art?
I guess I could have, but I just didn't have the self-drive. Mm-hmm. But what I learned from my second degree is that I guess I love the creation of the idea, but not two-dimensional. I was bored with that, and I found through the second degree that they taught us to think creatively and create anything. And that's when I started thinking outside the box. I also had been a musician, a failed musician, played in bars, didn't like that at all. People with their backs to us at the bar, and I come here, I start doing this, and they're like, everybody's facing forward.
And that's something a lot of people don't think about, is that and I've talked about a lot of local musicians here, is that they're very talented, but most of the time they are playing to an audience that is not paying attention to them at all.
Because we've seen it all. You've heard it all.
They're not.
The band's music.
The band is just something in the corner, and it's just something going on where we have your attention, and that's something that musicians would like to have. Yeah. I know that. So when was the click to comedy?
Well, you know, when I was little, I used to love I wanted to be a singer, then I wanted to be a ventriloquist, then I wanted to be a magician. This was like 6 or 7. And then I grew up and thought all that junk was fantasy, that nobody really did that as a job, and I squashed all that out of my head. And it wasn't until second degree, and I was so frustrated with life. I was a failed musician, a failed artist in my opinion. So then all of a sudden I said, you know what? I was so angry at life, and sometimes it takes anger to make you motivate. So I said, damn it, life is kicking me in the teeth right now. I'm going to do what I wanted to do since I was a little kid, which is be a comedian, which is one of the things, an entertainer. And I sat and started writing. Like, all right, what's funny? I wish I was dead was like the first line I wrote. And like, that's not funny, you know, instantly. But I was driven, and then I started an open mic, and then not too long after, I was just doing straight stand-up.
Where did you start open mic? Where was the first time?
In Tampa. It was at what is now Side Splitters. It was Crackers back
yes.
then.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
In 90.
Yes.
Huh? Crackers? Do you like Crackers, ma'am?
I remember Crackers. It was run by the Colombian cartel, I think. If I remember correctly, it was. I remember getting paid there was different. It was not like your normal paycheck.
So then I started on the guitar. I had a friend at work that said, why don't you play your guitar? And I said, oh, you know, okay. And that became my thing. And
when I met you, or when you first started working for us, you always had the guitar. That was a big part of your show. At that point, you were what we call a feature act. And if you don't know how it works in this business, as a general rule, the host or the opening act is the least talented. Is the beginner as a general rule. And then you move up to middle act when you have more time and professional status, and then you move to headliner. But and the difference is financially, a middle act, a feature act, what we call it, makes half or less than half of what the headliner makes. They make enough. You make enough money in that middle spot to barely survive.
But you're learning.
That's right. But you really have to get to headliner to make any kind of a living at all. And you kind of got locked into that middle spot, as so many people do.
True.
And is developing this closer, was that the kind of the
catalyst?
Anger?
Yes.
Yes.
I was.
Right.
10, 11 years in the business, frustrated, angry. Some people wouldn't headline me. Some people wouldn't even hire me or look at me, and I said, damn it, I'm going to build something so mean and in your face. There's no rules about class, or as you can see, I am determined to make it so they can't deny me. And that's where it started. It started with Howard Stern. I had him in the middle, and then I couldn't follow looking like him.
Right.
I would turn around, they would ooh and ah, and I could do his voice, but I couldn't end the thing to take the stupid thing off. So I finally said, well, I'll just move it to the end. That way I'll turn into him, and I'll just, you've been a wonderful audience, thank you and good night. And I would walk through the audience. But then it wasn't enough. Oh, and then I added music, the Bad to the Bone. Then I kept, for 6 months, I was like, what can I make Howard do? What can I make Howard say? And it wasn't until I was smoking pot. Can you say that on the internet? And I said, wait a minute, why do I keep trying to, what would Howard do? Howard would rip his clothes off, fire would come out his ass, he'd have Britney Spears' face on his crotch, and that was the first thing. Clothes came off, Britney Spears' face, and so I was sort of onto something, but it was a lot of things. Stomp, the play Stomp. Has anybody seen that one?
Yes.
It's all rhythm.
Yes.
Garbage Can Lids is their poster.
They've had it at Van Wezel here, yeah.
I saw that, the rhythm got into me big time, and at one point they turned the lights off in the theater. They used Zippo lighters in the dark, which is really cool and simple, but the lights going off, everybody's like, where are we going? So I had this thing in my head, loud music, lights off, but what? And then I saw the Phil Collins in the Air Tonight video. It's just his head lit up. So then I'd sit in the hotel room with a flashlight on my face in the dark going, and this is going nowhere. But I was onto something, but then I saw the Queen video. Caught my eye because of the bottom lighting, just dramatic lighting. You know, he lights up, and then the band guy is like, if I could get a board and put it on my shoulders, puppet head, me, then us two, then this guy, they'll go crazy. I could see it in my head. And they made the mistake of telling my mom and another friend, okay, this is what I'm gonna get this board, I'm gonna put puppet heads, and I'm gonna do this, and they're like, so I started doubting it, but then I built it, and oh my God, you see how it goes.
Absolutely. You know, something that I often tell comedians in our comedy class is I go, unless you have someone in your life that really engages and really gets into the creative process, don't share with them your creative ideas. Because 9 times out of 10, that's what they do. They look at you like, huh? Or, well, that's stupid. And then 9 times out of 10, you begin to question yourself because
you'll doubt yourself.
It is crazy, the creative process, but you have to see it and believe it yourself. So from the time you started what you just talked about, from the time the Howard Stern thing, all the way through until you came up with this final piece, how long did that take?
Well, inch by inch, piece by piece, 10 years.
10 years of development to get,
yeah.
So you started with Howard Stern, yeah, and it took 10 years to get the whole thing
Can I tell you, there's one last piece, because the one last piece really made the thing, and everything else was just built to lead up to it. But the last thing, so I had now had, when I was a feature act, warm-up guy, I had Bohemian Rhapsody, then I had Howard Stern, and already no one wanted to follow that. I was just exploding. But the first, I think it was the first weekend I ever did those two back-to-back, I had a friend, Ken Reed,
Yeah. Oh, right. Who
And
has the club up in Minneapolis? Yes.
I come off stage. He's been drinking beer. He goes, "You know what you need now?" I go, "What?" He goes, "You need a puppet on Howard's crotch." And I looked at him like, "Oh, that's stupid," and I ignored him. But then, like 3 weeks later or so, I worked with Seamus O'Brien.
Yes.
Remember O'Brien and
Oh,
Valdez,
yes, absolutely.
blind Mexican, great. He did business 30 years. I featured
His
for him.
picture's up here on the wall.
He says
Jim
to me,
O'Brien.
He says to me, you know what you need now? I go, "What?" He goes, "You need a puppet on Howard's crotch." And I was like, that's what my idiot drunk friend said. But here's the guy, 30 years in the business. Both of them in their imagination saw that, you know? So I was like, there's got to be something to it. 2 guys visualized my crotch, which is weird already.
With a singing puppet on it.
With a singing puppet. So
wow.
Man, I built that. And just, you see,
Well,
that's how it went
without
from
a
day
doubt.
one. And just,
Without a doubt. The first time I saw you do the whole thing, and did not know that was going to happen, you know. And when I watch audiences, I have so much fun watching audiences knowing that they don't know that your dick's going to sing, and it's disturbing, and you don't quite know what to do with yourself, do you? And you know, I want to say too that you know, in our business, in stand-up comedy, there's a great prejudice against any comedians that use anything but the spoken word to create laughter.
it's true. Did you know that?
There is a tremendous prejudice there. That type of thing is really you know, kind of
Cheating.
Yeah, cheating.
A crutch.
Absolutely.
I've heard it all.
And I was telling him, I used to hear that about Carrot Top, Jeff Dunham, the great ventriloquist, one of the superstars of our day right now, dealt with that his whole career. And it's so crazy because as far as the audience concerns, you just want to laugh.
Do you care as long as you're entertained?
I mean, do you care that it's clever words or somebody, you know, shooting fire out of their ass? I mean, really, when it comes down to brass tacks, you're here to laugh. We're here to make you laugh, and that's one of the funniest things. I think it should be in Vegas to this day. You should just be doing that 15 minutes at some crazy show in Vegas and just making your whole living there. Let's see.
Are you going to bring out my third grade teacher?
No. I knew I had one last question for you, and then we're going to open up to the audience for questions. The other thing that you struggle with that we talked about was now you've got this mind-blowing closer. There's something that's very talked about, but do you expose it to everybody? Do you put it on the net? Do you put it even in a video that people can buy? And you really struggle with that. Just talk about that a little bit.
Well, I still don't know the answer. It goes back and forth. Like I even have now, if you've seen, I think they run it here and it may be on YouTube, it's called Michael Mack promo video, and it's got a little teasers of Bohemian Rhapsody and Whitney and somebody, sorry about Whitney, by the way.
You know what? I think you have to do. I wondered if you were going to keep it in there. You kept Michael Jackson in, and I wondered if you were going to keep that in there. But and you know what I've noticed is, and we're kind of going off, and I've noticed this with the audience was that this week, because this is the first time you've been here since Whitney died, and you did it anyway, is that when you usually as soon as you bring Whitney out, there's laughter, and now there's silence. You know, the crowd is kind of like, oh, but not like, I don't feel that the audience, were you uncomfortable? But it was more almost like, oh, Whitney, you know, that poor woman. You know, because that's what we all feel, is that poor lady, you know, but then the audience goes ahead and gets into
Michael
it.
Jackson, huh?
The truth is funny. The truth is real.
Michael Jackson, when I did him, there's a line that sticks out in my head. When I did Michael Jackson, I've been doing him like, I don't know, 5 years, and then he passes away, and I'm doing it, I don't know, within the month or whatever, and I'm in the dark, and somebody yells, they hear the music coming, they go, too soon! I was like, I've been doing this for 5 years. Like, is it? So I even wonder, is it too soon? Too soon?
You know? Well, and but anyway, go ahead with the
I don't know, the
decisions of moving this, because you and I had talked about that a couple years ago.
But you know, people in the business who know things have completely opposite views of it. Like, I made that promo video because people hopefully look at that and go, oh, that seems interesting, let's go watch that show. But I had one club owner go, what are you doing? I go, if I saw that, I wouldn't come to the show, I've already seen it. I'm like, really? Is that, how can they have such different opinions? And then some people are like, I mean, I'm getting older. I mean, maybe I'll never be discovered working club to club. There's a copyright issue, by the way. That's why I've not been on television with it. They would have to pay royalties for each one of those songs, and it's just way too much money dealing with lawyers. So some people are like, put it on YouTube. I mean, the world may never know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just club by club, 50, 100 people at a time. So some people say, get it out there. They might be bored with it. I may have to create a whole new one. But at least they would know who I was before I dropped dead. You know, I don't know. I don't know
it's
what
a
the
great,
answer is.
and the reason I wanted Michael to talk about that is a great struggle with so many artists. Is that and I know it with comedians, they'll have this great piece of work, this great piece of art, and they're like, oh, if I put it on the web, it's done. You know, maybe it might make me famous. And it might just kill this great piece of art for me because it's been totally overexposed. And it's a real struggle with that. Although the thing that you and I talked about was I watched Jeff Dunham do it. And he put Walter, he put Peanut, he put them all out there over and over and over. And eventually it made him a superstar when Ahmed popped up.
Great.
And it made him a superstar. And so I think I want it from the audience's point of view. You can watch something on your computer. If you watch this Faces of Rock on your computer and you're sitting there watching it, would it intrigue you to see it live? That's what I think.
Well, has anybody here seen me do that before? No one? Okay. So, and you seeing it again, are you not bored with it or? Thank you.
That's good.
So it's got repeat value.
There you go. So I think that's it. It's that idea of going, ooh, I've seen it. I've seen it on the flat media, on the two-dimensional media. I want to go see it live. And that is the thing with any art. You know what I mean? I mean, just going to in school, the Mona Lisa or whatever great painting you've seen in your school book, but the first time you walk in that museum and you see it there, it's breathtaking. And that's the way it is.
Did you ever say that? Oh, I've seen her in a magazine.
I've seen her.
I should have gone to the
that
Louvre.
100 times, the Mona Lisa. You know, whatever. And that's the difference. We can bring up the house lights a little bit there. And if you guys have any questions for Michael at all, yes, right here. And I might repeat them just a little bit so we make sure people that are tuned in can hear. Where can you buy the Howard Stern underwear? You going to start marketing that singing penis?
Should. Does anyone know a manufacturer in China? Hey, she's wearing my shirt.
Hey, wait. All right.
Lovely.
Very nice.
And a nice rack to go with it.
And you know, there's a nice thing. If you sold, let me ask you this. If he sold that after the show, if he had that and he sold it, and it was... Because it would have to be, you figure, $20 at least.
20 to 30, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe $30. I'll say $30. Who would buy it?
Really?
All right, there's $200 right there.
Girls, picture your man in it and then rethink that answer. All right. How do I?
How do you control the mouth on the puppet?
Here's.
Oh, don't tell. Okay, I can't wait.
Muscle tension.
Sorry.
I've been asked that one a lot.
Oh, that's good. Another question? Anything? Yes. Oh, you couldn't see it very well. It needs to be bigger.
She wants to see it again.
Oh, she wants to see it again, up close. There's another $200.
Another $200.
Man, we're making some money tonight. Another question. Anything? Anybody have anything? Is it? I can't see if there's somebody in the back. Yes.
Do you still draw? Do you still do art for relax?
Not much. No, I don't. You know, like I said, it became creativity can be anything. It doesn't have to be on paper or, you know, I still design my own website and I do, you know, kind of artwork and draw funny pictures on Facebook and entertain people. But not really. My creativity went to other things, you know?
I have more of a statement than a question.
Love to hear it.
Funny is fun. I know there is a stigma that is with stand-up comedians, and it's not just with the spoken word. It's not true. It's not true comedy, but funny is funny.
You know what they call, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, really? Nice. Oh, around here? The ringling thing? Awesome. You know, something that came out, they call, when they use a guitar or props, they call it a crutch.
Yes.
Comics who just stand there like to use that word. And I'm like, I would like to see them take my crutch through the airport in 4 suitcases, paying all this money. Like, this makes it easier?
Right.
They're nuts.
Well, it's something to the artists that they've developed this prejudice on. But we all know, and I know as a club owner, the audience is what's most important. That's why we're doing it, and you guys don't care about that for the most part. Yes. What took him so long? Oh, I don't. Oh, me to hire him as a headliner?
How does she know that?
I'll tell you the process is. The process is this, is that 2 things. One, all of us as club owners, when you've middled somebody, when you've seen somebody start out as a middle, it's hard in your mind to move them, you know, in your head to headliner. It's almost easier for a comic to come in first time as a headliner than to move up in any type of club. We all find that to be true. And and I just want to say that the other thing, and that's what Michael finally got to the point with me where he, and all the clubs where he said, I will not come back as a feature. And that's what you end up having to do. And then what happened was several other comedians that came in, several other headliners and comedians I respect, came in and said, man, Michael is really doing great. You know, I've seen him here, I've seen him there, I've heard, his show has really come along. And that's what will happen. You'll start hearing it through the grapevine, and that's what happened with me. And then because I didn't headline him for a long time, I got him 2 other jobs. I felt bad. He was so pissed at me for so long.
Bobby Jewell actually moved me up from feature to headliner. He was having A-list comics that were on television begging him to not put me with them anymore.
That's right.
I had Bohemian Rhapsody and Howard Stern and the singing cat, or whatever. It's a clown, but people think it's a cat. Headliners were like, please don't put me with that guy. Please don't put me with that guy. So he had to move me up.
And that's what you have to do. That's what you do. You make it where you can't be followed. Mm-hmm. Another question? Is there anything else? And if there's anybody in the very back row, I can't see.
Oh yeah, I make everything.
He does make all the props himself.
Yep, most of them are paper mache and wood and one of the older ones, but it's a board, paper mache front, hair. It's got a pulley in the back. The mouth is on an axle, and there's a rubber band going over a pulley. My thumb goes through, handle, and it's got a light switch, and that's all LEDs on it. Yeah, it's rubber bands and string and flashlights, basically.
Yes. Who makes his guitar?
That's made by Ovation. It's an Ovation Elite.
Ovation Elite.
Love that guitar. It got squashed flat by Delta Airlines once.
Oh.
I had a carry-on, and they said, we have to check that at the gate. I'm like, it's a guitar in a soft case. He goes, FAA regulation, blah, blah, blah. And they handed it back to me like this. I was like, something was weird, unzipped it, it's flat.
They paid for it?
Oh, yeah, they rebuilt it from almost. Put what? Oh, you mean the ending? Put what on YouTube? The ending?
The whole thing?
I guess you see, some people disagree. They think it'll give away the surprise that.
How many people by applause think he should not put it out of the whole thing? Should not. Just teasers. How many people think he should put the whole damn thing out there? How many think he should only put the singing penis part out there?
It's a guy.
All right, we'll take a couple more questions and we'll finish up. Yes.
Did the TSA
Does security ever
Yes.
comment on the contents of your...
Yes, they do, and I hate that. The worst was in Mexico. They didn't speak English. Is right after 9/11. They're pulling out wires, batteries, switches, and all this, and they're looking at me, and they're not speaking, and I'm like, I'm a clown. I'm like, what's the Spanish word for clown? And they're like, this bomb.
Oh, man.
I got another story. Bring me this one. I was in Virginia, and they had a dude. He was hand searching my suitcase, and he'd pull out wig, look at me, puppet, look at me, another wig, another puppet, look at me. And I was not in a good mood when I traveled, and I'm like, I got tired of him looking at me. I finally lean into him. I go, what? And he goes, buddy, you're rating pretty high on my weirdo meter right about now. Swear to God. And me, Mr. Clever Comeback, had nothing to say. I didn't expect him. I was like, you don't know who I am. Or, I don't know. I was like, damn.
Is there any, if you've got a question, and I'm going to just go to the back row. If anybody, because I can't see hands raised, if you've got a question in the back row, just shout it out. You're not in the back row. Okay, go ahead. This will be our last one.
Me or him? Oh, you mean my very first time on stage as a comedian? Pretty much just sat and just wrote things that I thought were funny. They told me it had to be 5 minutes long, so I just wrote what I thought was funny and I memorized it holding a hairbrush. Used to have one. What we do is, I have notebooks and notebooks of just one line of a funny idea. Something you say that somebody laughs at, you go, oh, I gotta write that down. Or something that happens, you think it's funny, you write it down. So you got notebook after notebook of these one ideas. And then you sit down. I used to sit on the coffee table and watch comedians, turn them on. And then you try to see through the guy's act to where the idea came from. And you can see through, he wrote a story around something that happened at the airport, but the rest of it's story. Then you get to look at your ideas and get an idea, okay, here's the idea, I gotta write a story around it. And then you try to link things together, like multiple things drunk in the bar, glue 3 jokes together, then you got a 3-joke lineup. So that's how you begin.
And here we have a comedy boot camp that's just a weekend, and that's what we do. That's what we do is we deal with being able to teach you to come in and take those ideas that you have and structure them the proper way, and it kind of help you along that lines. Which we didn't have that. We were just shooting from the hip.
Trial and error.
Exactly. Uh-huh.
What?
Les do you know Les? That's where he came from. He was with improv. But no, it was all structured. It's usually it's word for word. It's a script. It's a play that we write, and we do that. Back in the day, remember we used to do improv after the show?
Yes.
And not even just you. I mean, other clubs when there was a thing. They do the whole show, and all the comics would come together. Any comics were in the back, and we do improv.
Yes, we've got an improv troupe here now. We're doing more of that, and I'd like to do that more. And we used to do more of that. I used to ask every headliner, would you do an improv with me at the end, and see if they would. And we should get back into doing that, because we actually had some celebrities that would, like Tommy Chong and Pam Stone and people like that would get up. Of course, Tommy Chong doesn't give a shit. He is improv. But you're right, and it is a difference. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for Michael Mack.
Thank you.
Thank you. Michael will be right back there with his DVD.